Welcome back one last time. Again, I'm Kirsten Murphy, Executive Director for the Vermont Developmental Disabilities Council. And this is the final installment of our presentation of the work plans for performance years 1 and 2 of our 5-year plan, which begins October 1st of this coming year, 2021, and runs through 2026. This is a very short video that is simply going to review the questions I posed at the beginning of the presentation about what makes this a relatively strong work plan. Remember that we asked certain questions, and these are indicators of a strong plan. But it's also important to remember that work plans can change. We are welcome to change course at any time if there's a justifiable reason for it. It's just that we need to be able to explain that when we do our annual report to the Administration for Community Living. So this is our best guess of what we're going to do over the next 2 years, but no doubt we will make small and even large changes. We are also allowed to change the objectives if we think upon further work and research that we need to go in a different direction and that would benefit Vermonters with developmental disabilities and their families more. If there are small changes to the objectives, we file them in August, and we have an opportunity to file major changes in late December when we file our annual report. All right, so does this work plan use different strategies? Remember, there were 11 that ACL suggested. And in fact, we use 10 of the 11. We use all of them except for the other category. And I suspect that we do use other strategies. I just haven't put a name to that yet. Are there activities that support 2 or more objectives? There are several good examples, and without belaboring the numbers here too much, I'll explain that the objective that supports peers, supporting peers, that was in goal area 1, also supports that networking and building of a network of family caregivers for adults. That's the 5th objective in that goal area. And it also reinforces the adult services goal, which appeared in the goal area regarding individuals with complex needs. So a lot of that had to do with this creation of an independent and vetted website that has information about adult services so that people can finally go one place and get objective information and in a way that isn't overly confusing and has no bias attached to it. That would be one example. Another example would be that the objective we just went over in the last video, our systems of care objective, supports many other components of the plan. It supports guardianship work, it supports peer-to-peer work, it supports housing work, it even supports some of the adult service changes that we want to make for individuals who have complex disabilities and or substantial support needs. And those are just 2 examples of how the plan has ways that it reinforces, goals reinforce each other, or objectives reinforce each other. All right, so that's good. Then we need to ask, have we met all of the requirements of the DDA? And yes, indeed, we have, mostly just through goal area 1. We have supported self-advocacy. We have supported self-advocates teaching peers. We have supported collaboration with our DD network partners who are Disability Rights Vermont and the Center for Disability and Community Inclusion at the University of Vermont. And then we have met the requirement that an underserved group be targeted for some of our activities. Next slide. To continue, are projects undertaken in collaboration with other organizations besides our network partners? Absolutely. We're a minimum contribution state, so while $500,000 might sound quite grand, it's not very much for a council to have. My colleague in California has 15 staff members and a I don't know, a $6 million budget or something like that. So substantially more. At any rate, yes, we don't do anything without collaborating with our community partners. That's part of the Vermont culture. It's part of best practice. And it's certainly the most sensible strategy when we have limited resources. So we really undertake everything in partnership. Did we set realistic goals? Yes, I believe we did. The target numbers are relatively modest, especially where we're able to compare what we have done in previous years. We believe that we've been able to more than meet the targets that I've set in this work plan and that our council members set. And then finally, this very important question: have we balanced innovation and with sustaining long-term systems change efforts that often take more than 5 years? And I believe, again, yes, we have. There are objectives that have carried over, or more importantly, activities that have carried over from previous work, for example, our leadership series. There are also advocacy efforts that we have laid the groundwork for in this past cycle. I think peers supporting peers is a good example. Last time in the 5-year plan, we supported an initial training so that self-advocates knew more about person-centered planning and about how to support each other in creating person-centered plans. We hope to take that evolving expertise and further it so that peers can become better, and hopefully they can be paid to support each other in developing person-centered plans. There is a sustaining of some of those long-term investments. There's not a kind of, oh, 5 years is over, let's shut the door and do something completely different. At the same time, I think this plan does a good job, I would venture to say better than the last plan, of challenging us to look for some very innovative new ways of doing things and working in areas that we haven't previously worked in, specifically universal design, transportation, housing, guardianship issues. Again, something we've started to work with, but really challenging ourselves to be creative and cutting edge with our Youth Ambassador project. So again, I think it's a good balance of the old and the new, if you will, with wise investments that are a kind of combination of some sustained projects, but also seeds grants that lay the groundwork for emerging best practices and emerging programs and projects. To conclude, again, work plans are works in progress, and we invite anyone at any time, well, at any time during the day, to call us up and to suggest things that you might like to see us work on, ideas you might have about how to implement our objectives, or just to talk about the work plan and what we're doing to serve you and other Vermonters who have developmental disabilities or who support someone or care about someone who has a developmental disability. Thank you very much for your attention. I know that this was a relatively long presentation, and we appreciate your interest.